Okay, I'm Dean Taylor. I'm going to change the talk that was advertised. I've just changed completely, and that's because we've got 70 students here, and so what I want to do is do two things. One is I want to tell you a story for the first 4 minutes. Then I want to tell you the significance and make a prediction. So I'm going to tell you the story. And how do I advance? I'm not doing it.
So I use the arrow, yeah, I use the arrow key.
Give me like slide 6. I'm cutting out a whole bunch of slides. Go back up, back up. Okay, so here's the story. Okay, Ledyard Stebbins. I went to Davis as a graduate student in 1971, and I was basically his driver. But I didn't meet, Ledyard Stebbins started this story as Limestone, and this is his portrait taken by Ansel Adams. Why would Ansel Adams take his portrait? Well, Stebbins, after World War II, he would go on, the Sierra Club would have a month-long base camp somewhere in the Sierra. Pack all your stuff up, go climb peaks. Ledyard had several first ascents. Look at the Climber's Guide to the High Sierra. And of course, that's how he met Ansel Adams. This was after the war when he was at Berkeley. He moved to Davis in 1959. Not working. He moved to Davis in 1959. Where's the tech guy? Anyway, and we got pushing the wrong button. I didn't meet him through an academic setting. When I was a freshman in college in 1967, I became essentially addicted to botany, and I started going on Native Plant Society field trips. And who was there, but in the president at the various times and leading these trips was Ledyard Stebbins. So I didn't know anything so much about academics associated with Stebbins. I just knew him, he would walk around and he knew every plant in the landscape. And so in 1971, when I went to Davis to be his last graduate student, this is what you do with a graduate student. You give them an assignment. And my assignment was because in 1959, he was a climber, as I said, and in 1959 he collected this thing when he took a sabbatical visitor to Shasta Caverns, and Stebbins could get up on these kinds of cliffs, and bingo, here's this undescribed plant. Well, he didn't do anything with it, and so when I showed up, I was a climber when I was in high school, okay? And he knew that, and so my assignment was to go find an additional occurrences so it could be described. And apparently I passed the test. So we have Agaritina shastense. Now that was my introduction to this limestone. Okay. Here's the map of the distribution of these endemics today. Here's what it was in 1971. And so in 1978, we described the Agaritina. So I got interested in this, and for several years was gone from California, but came back. I would drive along Highway 299 and see this cliff. So one day with my field assistant, Glenn Clifton, we stopped, got across the creek, and we're 50 yards from the pavement. We encountered this thing. And I knew immediately it's rosaceae, but I didn't know what genus it was. Okay? And I also didn't know that the genus Neviusea was not known by an extant lineage. This is a leaf impression from an Eocene deposit in British Columbia dated at 44 million years old. Okay, here's Neviusea cliftoni. And this was my 15 seconds of fame, New York Times, okay? Full spread of full. So that was 1992. So that got me going. So in the next couple of years, I collected a lot and found this mimulus, and it's in section mimulosma. It's a crevice plant. I collected the first specimens of the erythronium, and I collected additional material of the adiantum, you will see. Okay, so here we have these 5 endemics. Now, all of the students here should be just pissed, because you could make the claim that we've hydrated all this cool stuff, and there's nothing left for you to do. So here you go, here are the hydrators, Glenn Clifton, left to right, Glenn Clifton, Jim Shebuck, Barbara Erder, and myself. There's about 50 new species over the career of these people standing there. Well, I'm here to make a proclamation to you students. Okay, if you think there's nothing to discover, you're wrong. So here's my proclamation. There are 500 missing new species in California. You want to know how I'm going to show that to you in the next 2 minutes? Read a couple of Robert Scotland, Oxford, in the UK, a couple of these papers, okay? I'm going to show you how we could do some projections. So there are about 3,900 endemics in California. That's a number you've never heard. It's much too high, but I can't explain it. Here's the accrual curve that shows how they've been documented over time. You can see the curve hasn't leveled off yet. So one way we can make a projection is just to fit that curve, okay? Here I fit the curve with a polynomial. Statistics, we don't have time. But that predicts there are approximately 501 taxa would be required to get an asymptote on that curve. Okay, so there you go. Polynomial tells us there are 500 undescribed plants. So let's fit it a second way. I'll call this a rate plot. So you just plot the number described in a time interval as a function of the number known in the previous time interval. You can see it's declining. You can put a regression through that. You can get a confidence interval, and that tells you there could be, by this data, 400 or so. And so now I want to tell you the bummer. You heard, for instance, Tommy's work on Claytonian, and I think that's a good model. What we've got to do is we've got to clone him 20 times out of the 70 students we've got. We've got to get you a job, get you funded, give you 30 years, and you might come up with a big fraction. But here's the bummer. A large fraction of these are going to go extinct anonymously. And that's just exactly what you guys have to go solve. Okay, next speaker.